Today, we will explore the 7 most common symptoms of a malfunctioning fuel filter. So stay with us until the end of the video to know if your car already has one. To start, the fuel filter's role is to keep your car's fuel system clean by stopping dirt and debris from reaching important parts like the injectors. Even though gas might look clean, it always has some tiny particles in it, especially if your car is old or has been sitting around. These particles could mess up the fuel lines and cause problems for your engine. Luckily, every car has a fuel filter that catches it before it can do any harm. But over time, the filter gets clogged up with all that debris, which eventually slows down the flow of fuel. You can find your fuel filter anywhere along the path from the engine to the gas tank, and both gasoline and diesel vehicles have them. Typically, it's an inline filter positioned between 2 hose connections on the fuel lines. However, in some instances, it might also be located inside or attached to the tank itself. Fuel filters come with various adapters. Your car might use a push-on filter with tubes that slide into the hoses, which are often secured by clamps. Alternatively, a threaded fuel filter may be employed with input and output tubes that screw into their designated spots. If you're dealing with a dirty, clogged fuel filter, you're likely to encounter a variety of engine performance issues, ranging from power loss to complete stalling. So let's take a closer look into each of the symptoms in detail. Symptom 1. Check engine light on. When the injectors aren't receiving enough pressurized fuel, your car's computer control unit, CCU, will detect irregularities. Since the fuel filter isn't an electrical component, it won't trigger a specific code. However, you might find a code stored in memory, typically something like P0171, indicating a lean fuel system. A lean running engine suggests there's either too much air or insufficient fuel for proper combustion. This can lead to misfires, accompanied by corresponding codes like P0300. To identify which codes are present, you'll need an OBD2 scanner. Symptom 2. Stalling engine. You might encounter scenarios like pressing down on the gas pedal to accelerate, only to find your engine shutting off. As performance issues like that worsen, your engine could start stalling due to either a low air-fuel ratio or insufficient fuel reaching the engine. A clogged fuel filter restricts the amount of fuel required, which leads to engine stalling. So as your filter continues to clog, the frequency of engine stalling increases. While you may manage to restart your engine, these stalls can create hazardous situations, particularly in heavy traffic. Symptom 3. Poor engine performance. If you have a clogged fuel filter, it can lead to a decrease in engine performance as evident through symptoms like hesitation, sputtering, or surging, particularly when your car is under heavy loads. Initially, these signs might not be noticeable during regular driving. However, they could become problematic when tackling steep inclines or towing. Over time, the fuel restriction worsens until these symptoms persist consistently. Alongside this, you'll likely observe a drop in fuel economy. Symptom 4. Rough idle. In addition to other performance issues, a rough idle is another indicator of potential fuel filter problems. Ideally, your car should idle between 600 and 1,000 RPMs in most situations. If it consistently idles lower or higher than this range, it could signal an issue with the fuel filter. To determine if your car's idle is abnormal, you can check your service manual since it can provide precise information on what's considered normal for the type of your car. Symptom 5. Hard starting, crank, but no start. If the fuel filter is extremely clogged, you may encounter a situation where you hear the starter turning, but the engine fails to start. This occurs because there isn't enough fuel to combust and sustain engine operation. But a faulty fuel filter typically shouldn't prevent the engine from starting outright, unless it's completely blocked. However, it can make starting the engine more challenging because it can result in erratic fuel flow, which requires more time spent cranking the engine than usual. Depending on the severity of the clog, your car may run normally once you start it. Symptom 6. Engine hesitation. When you press down on the gas pedal to accelerate, you may experience stuttering before the car picks up speed. This happens because the fuel supply fails to match the demand for air entering the engine. When you press the gas pedal, the throttle plate opens up to allow more air, in which pushes the ECM to request more fuel. However, a clogged fuel filter restricts the flow of fuel, which causes a delay in transferring fuel from the tank to the injectors. Symptom 7. Misfiring engine. Clogged fuel filters basically stop the flow of gas to the engine, which creates a low-pressure situation that can result in misfiring. This condition feels like severe hesitation from the engine, and when you continue driving under these circumstances, it can only lead to more significant issues, such as dislodged spark plugs and damage to the catalytic converter. So, if you suspect you have a bad fuel filter based on the symptoms we've discussed, it's a good idea to confirm first with a fuel pressure gauge before replacing it. A clogged fuel filter typically leads to low fuel pressure. However, it's worth noting that low fuel pressure can also be caused by other issues. When should you replace your fuel filter? You can replace your fuel filter every 50 to 100,000 miles. However, some newer cars claim that the fuel filter will last the vehicle's entire lifespan. Replacement of the fuel filter is typically included in the regular maintenance schedule. Manufacturers offer varying recommendations, with most suggesting replacement every 2 years or 30,000 miles, whichever comes first. However, there are exceptions. For instance, if you frequently go off-road, you may need to replace the filter more often. How much would it cost to replace your fuel filter? The fuel filter typically ranges from $10 to $150 for most cars. When it comes to replacement, if the fuel filter is easily accessible, you might be able to change it yourself in less than half an hour. However, if the fuel filter is difficult to access, you may need to consult a professional mechanic since it might require special tools. In such cases, you could expect to pay for an hour or two of labor. So, there you have it. The 7 most common signs of a faulty fuel filter. I hope those symptoms speak for themselves about the importance of regular maintenance, because it is not something you want to skip to keep your car in good shape. And if you find videos like this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe so we can assist you. Fix it.